Okay, so now you've looked at your paper for word choice, you've made some edits and possibly even some changes, but we still need to look at our paper for sentence fluency. We especially need to look at this paragraph for sentence fluency. What I want you to do right now is pause this video and read this paragraph to yourself out loud and see what you think. Pause the video now. Right, so what you've probably noticed is the beginning part was really choppy and the end part was hard to read without getting confused or running out of breath. You'll remember I was gasping for air in the first part of this video. So it's time that we now look at revising your paper for sentence fluency. But first we need to figure out what we mean by sentence fluency. So the question we ask is, can you feel the words and phrases flow together as you read it aloud? And the answer to that one is absolutely not. Not with that paragraph, no way. The beginning of that paragraph was really choppy, like I said, and the end just made you almost pass out because there was no punctuation to make you stop reading. Now, with papers with good sentence fluency, have sentences that are well structured and vary in beginnings, length, and type. You'll notice that those sentences didn't vary much in their beginnings, length, or type. They were mostly simple sentences, and a lot of them started with the same word. When you have good sentence fluency, your writing flows with a bit of rhythm and sounds natural. So, that paper, it definitely did not do that. Let's look at it again and let's start making changes. First thing I'm going to do is look through and see how many sentences begin the same way. Look, I've got 3 sentences that begin with Milo and 2 sentences that begin with talk. That's not good. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look and see how many sentences are simple sentences. Now you'll remember simple sentences have a subject, a noun part, and a predicate, a verb part. Look how much of that paragraph is nothing but simple sentences. You've got talk, that's our subject, told Milo to think, that's the predicate bit. Milo, that's our subject, thought of information he learned in school, that's the predicate bit. All the knowledge Milo remembered, that's the subject, assisted him in making the car move, predicate bit. That's why it sounds so choppy. It's because I'm not using different types of sentences. I'm using the same type over and over again, even down here. So that's definitely going to need to be changed. Finally, here's that great big monster that I went and circled around here in red. Oh my goodness. You know what, just for fun, I'm going to start reading this sentence again and see if I can get through without running out of breath. Milo, talk, and humbug wouldn't have been able to overcome all those obstacles if they didn't have these items, so the friendship of the people they met on the way was helpful, or they would have never been able to do the impossible, which was to save rhyme and reason and return the king of wisdom to normal. Wow. That sentence almost killed me. The goal of this paper is not to kill me. The goal of this paper is to show me what a great writer you are. So let's do some sentence combining with those simple sentences at the beginning. Talk told Milo to think. Milo thought of the information he learned in school. All the knowledge Milo remembered assisted him in making the car move. What I've done here is I took those first 2 sentences and I made it into a compound sentence. You'll remember that from 5th grade that a compound sentence is 2 sentences that are joined with a comma and a conjunction, or a connecting word. Talk told Milo to think, comma, so Milo thought of the information he learned in school. So that sounds so much better than when it was written the first way, with 3 simple choppy sentences. You can also combine or rearrange sentences sometimes to make them sound different. Look at this one. Talk, Milo, and Humbug all received gifts on their way to save the princesses in both the film and the book. The presents help them to solve problems and defeat demons. It's a bit dull, but you know what? I bet we could start the sentence with, on their way to save the princesses, and it would be a bit more interesting. Look how much better that is. I've made this a phrase that I've set off with a comma, and it just sounds better. On their way to save the princesses, Talk, Milo, and Humbug all received gifts in both the film and the book. The presents helped them to solve problems and defeat the demons. Wow, things are getting even better. And then finally, the monstrosity. I'm not going to try to read it again because I might just pass out. So instead, I'm going to just show you what I've done. This is 3 sentences in one, and we're not looking for the best bargains in sentences. What we're looking for is good quality writing. So let's separate things out and then maybe vary them a bit. So separating out the sentences and varying a bit. We've got Milo, Talk, and Humbug wouldn't have been able to overcome all those obstacles if they didn't have these items. That's it. That's one complete thought. But the next thought carries on from the first, so I'm going to use a connecting word to start the sentence off so that it flows naturally from one to another, so you've got good flow. Therefore, the friendship of the people they met on the way was extremely helpful. I added extremely because I thought it sounded better. And then that's the second thought, so I'm going to end that. And then instead of saying they would have never been able to do the impossible without it, I did that thing where I switched it again and I said without it, they would have never been able to do the impossible. And then I put a comma here, and this is in a positive phrase to tell you what the impossible was. So they would have never been able to do the impossible, comma, save rhyme and reason and return the kingdom of wisdom to normal. So we have a paper that sounds so much better. The importance of friendship and working together are shown in the film and the book in 2 similar ways. Milo was stuck in the doldrums and needed Talk's help to get out. Talk told Milo to think, so Milo thought of information he learned in school. You know what? I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I could even do some more here. So these are the edits I made from before, but I think it might need something else. Transitional words. So instead of just going right into Milo was stuck in the doldrums for my first main point, I have this transitional word as first to let me know that this is the first point that I'm going to make. It's the first similarity. I could also say one similarity was that Milo was stuck in the doldrums, although that sounds a bit awkward. But there's other ways to say like first and then second. But here they're sort of like little markers to let you know this is my first main point, this is my second main point. And they also are good, these 2 transitional words, because they connect the ideas together. So it also sounds a little less choppy and it's a bit better organized as well. I went in and added all the information because I thought that it was necessary that you knew how much information he had to remember. It was all the information. And then you'll remember that down here when it said, not only do the similarities in the book and the film show the importance of friendship, the differences do too. I thought that sounded kind of meh. So I said, the differences teach this lesson as well, because it's more specific. So even though I was editing for sentence fluency, I still added some more word choice to make it better. And I'll bet that I could make this even better if I went over it again. So what should you do now? You should look over your paper with the rubric, read your paper to yourself out loud, have your parents, siblings, or peers read your paper to you, and then finally, make any revisions you need to make. Remember, you need to bring a printed copy to class, and then in class, we're going to have our peers edit it, and then we're going to spruce it up and make the papers perfect so that we can hand it in. That about does it for me and revision. I hope that you all have a very pleasant weekend. Bye-bye.